Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career, with a little self-help along the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's Philip Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Philter. I'm joined by a special guest. Well, everyone's a special guest to me. I'm joined by co-founder, CEO, creator of the 5-Minute Journal, Alex Ikonn. Like, that sounds pretty cool because it sounds legendary. Now, if you know, every single episode, I plug this 5-Minute Journal. I really attest to it. I'll be throwing it in there in my episodes. And I was like, you know what? Let me just continue to reach out to intelligent change. And maybe I can get them on the podcast to talk about their journal, gratitude, mindset. And Alex, so luckily or so blessed to have him on the show, agreed. So before we get into this episode, Alex, can you give the listeners a little bit of background about who you are?
Yeah, definitely. I would say probably, serial entrepreneur, somebody that enjoys creating things. And I think when I speak of an entrepreneur, it's really a creator. And I think that's the magical thing of the society that we're in right now, is that we as people are by nature creators, and business is just an aspect where we're able to create. So I'm just able to create what I want to manifest and bring into this world that I believe doesn't exist. And previously, before my wife and I had an e-commerce business, we started that. And then Intelligent Change, which is the creator of the 5-Minute Journal and the Productivity Planner, was really just a little side thing we did because I just wanted products like that in my life.
I love it. And so, I know this takes and draws from theories and positive psychology. The godfather of positivity, Marty Seligman. He had people participate in an exercise where they wrote things they were grateful for, 3 things. So going back to the beginning of you as an entrepreneur, what made you think, like, let me create this? You had a successful e-commerce business. Bring us back to the beginning of the creation of the 5-Minute Journal.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it happened because somebody wanted to create their dream life, and they weren't a friend yet, but they became a friend. And they were looking for somebody. They read a book called The 4-Hour Workweek, which really inspired me and this person. And then what happened was they started looking. I think once you, open up your mind to something, you start then seeing it in the world, or then you start asking people like, hey, can you help me? Or do you know somebody who has done this? And they were referred, said, hey, Alex actually has this 4-Hour Workweek business. He's this lifestyle entrepreneur. You should speak to him. And this person's name was UJ. And he reached out to me through my friend, and we got connected. And he's like, I want to be a lifestyle entrepreneur like you. I'm like, great, but it doesn't just like happen because you just want it like right away. But he was very persistent as well, and we just became friends. Before, I guess, me mentoring him onto business, it was, I said, first, most importantly, what I've learned even by then, because we had success, we built a business that back then, early days of social media and all that stuff, we was making 7 figures in the first year, then just, doubling. It was growing. It was a very successful business. And with what right away was that don't chase money, because what I've learned is, having achieved that dream fairly quickly of having money, is that by itself is not going to make you happy. And what I really resonate with is there's Ray Dalio, successful I think hedge fund managers and investors. He's a multi-billionaire. He has this book called Principles. He says that success in life, according to his formula, is meaningful work and meaningful relationship. And if you can have those, like, that'll really kind of creates meaning and success in your life. And I really resonated with that. And I also told UJ that, business, no matter what it's going to be, you want something that's going to bring meaning, and it's something that you care about. Because long term, if you don't care about it, and then it's not gonna, even if you succeed, which the odds are against you, but even if you do succeed, for you to keep going, you need to be really have something beyond a purpose than just to make money. And so then we said, okay, great. And it really narrows down your focus. And he then started to explore what those things could be. And we were just, we both bonded as people, just being into self-development and growth and mindset and mindfulness. And we go for these like really long walks to 3 to 5 hours. And we just chat about books and life. And one of those books was called Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor. So it's also like a, I guess, OG book now in terms of positive psychology. And what Shawn Achor did, who was a former, I think Harvard, assistant teacher. He may not be a full professor or assistant professor. And he was also a Harvard student before. What he learned was people study most of medicine and psychology. They study like what's wrong with people. They don't study what's good with people. Hey, how about we study the happy guy or the successful person or the healthy person, what they're doing. Instead, a lot of times they just study, when something is wrong with people. And in that book, he really nailed down a lot of excellent research, which makes sense. But like, for me and so many people, what happens, you read maybe a great book, but then you don't action anything from it. And what I realized was, and it's something that I remember back in the day listening to Tony Robbins, he would say, most people don't even read books on self-development or how to improve their lives. And even if you're one of those rare people who picks up a book to improve their life, you start it, you don't finish it. And if you're that super rare person who's actually read one of these books and finished it and took notes and said, oh, this is great, I'm going to start doing gratitude journal in the morning, I'm going to start journaling, I'm going to start meditating, whatever that be. The reality is most people don't. And that's where the idea came of, hey, I think we're onto something, because one of the most impactful habits I've created in my life was when I was going through a very rough time in my life, when I was around 17, coming out of being a teenager, just finishing high school. My father passed away from cancer. My stepfather passed away from alcohol abuse. It was, I broke my arm. My doctor said it's not gonna move. Like it was just a rough. Like sometimes just life just throws you stuff, and it was just one of those really low points in my life. And that was when I discovered kind of actually Tony Robbins, and he would talk about going for gratitude walks in the morning. And in Canada, it's like really cold in the winter. It's like negative Fahrenheit, or so it's like it's cold. So you don't want to go get out for a gratitude walk in January. So my lazy way was just like, hey, I'm just gonna, as soon as I wake up, I'll say one thing that I'm grateful for, and that transformed my life just through that. And I thought, hey, with Happiness Advantage, why don't we pretty much take the best of in terms of from this research and from other research and put it together in an easy guided journal that you can do every morning and every night, right when you wake up or right before you go to sleep, because we believe you're closest to your kind of subconscious in that state. Because also through a lot of research, what we realize is that we're basically programs, and we have certain habits and rituals that we just do. And a lot of times we do things unknowingly. And this is why, companies and brands and governments exploit us as humans to condition us with Coca-Cola ads or whatever it may be, to get us to do stuff. So we do things without even knowing them. So why not hack your own system for the good, so that you'll be able to overwrite those habitual patterns by helping your mind go towards the possibility, towards what's good. And having successfully used it in my own life beforehand, I thought it would just be a neat product for me to keep up this kind of habit myself. And we made a deal with my friend UJ that, okay, I'll kind of, because I know how to design, create a product, I'll create the product and you run the operations, because operations is not my kind of stronghold. So I wanted somebody to do the operations. And that was really the birth of the 5-minute journal, because I said he wanted to learn how to create a business. I want to have a product. And we said, hey, let's do 1,000 of these, see what happens. Even if it doesn't sell, I have a product that I want to use myself and I want to give away to people, to friends and family. And for him, he learns, ins and outs of starting a business, creating a product, manufacturing, import, export, setting up online shop, all that stuff. That was able to kind of guide him through. And, the rest is really kind of history, and has been incredible that, as you kind of shared, before we started this call, that people like yourself have tremendously benefit from the product. And it's like, to me, this is the most amazing thing. And it's something I'm very kind of, the reason I took this call and things like that, I was like, I'm just appreciative and grateful that it's able to help others. And most importantly, then people are then able to create this action in a positive way and create positive change in the world. Because, ultimately our mission now for the company is, how do we help 1% of the global population create a positive change in their life? And I really believe that through a small percentage of humanity making a positive change, they can then affect others and make this overall vibrational shift to, create just a more better world.
Yeah, I love that. And, I did share earlier. So and I loved I really resonated because I did, before this episode, got to know a little bit about you, did a little bit of online stalking about your journey and learning about, a lot of people don't realize that sometimes the happiest people have faced incredible obstacles and have shown true resiliency. And usually it's at the bottom where they climb out of it. And I shared earlier with you that, my cousin Lisa gave me this journal when I was really in a dark place. And I really used your habits of creating, a different mindset shift by committing to it for at least 30 days. I remember that stood out to me. It's like, if you were to give this journal a chance, just give it a chance for 30 days. How did you and your partner come to, how did you prototype the early models? How did you say, just, if we're going to give this book to people, we want them to commit at least, 30 days and try it out to really give it a chance?
Yeah, I think it really just designing a product, how you yourself would want to use it. And I think also that was a great thing about co-creating it with kind of UJ at the time as well. We got to experiment with a lot of the possible psychology research that we read, so that, hey, there's a commitment page before you start, and it's like, hey, commit to doing this for 7 days. And because research shows that, hey, if you commit to doing something and you give yourself some more, also a little reward, and you say, okay, after I do this for 7 days, I'll get X. And you're more likely to follow through. So it's really a way for us to experiment with some of this type of research and we would hear about, but that's the beauty of a business. You get to actually implement it and execute and see it, does it work or not, and then do it.
So here's another interesting thing that I've come to conclude was, in my self-discovery and self-development, usually what my preconceived notion was that, when we think of mindfulness and yoga and positivity, we think of, this is me, transparency. We think of middle-aged white women that got resources, right? And we don't, I mean, yoga, when I think of yoga, I'm thinking of women that wear those boots and get spiced lattes and, I mean, like foo-foo. And then as I discovered, I was like, wow, like this is kind of an equity issue, as in all people can benefit from this, like as a Black male, this has been transformative. I preach it. I've been giving these out. When I got my brothers in Alpha, when they want a gift, I've been giving these to people. I'm trying to really diversify that the mindset of well-being, being inclusive and accessible to everyone. And so, can you tell us or talk about those early years of like trying to like really touch different markets and really get others to think about well-being that quote unquote typically don't think about it like that?
Yeah, I think you bring up an excellent point. Before I get into that, I like to, regards to, as you said, is there turn division in regards to the mindset of possibility in different social economic groups. I myself grew up, we've been on welfare as a family. I was really kind of, I would say, part of the block of the neighborhood versus the, where most people, because even though I have this, image on Instagram and things like that, people perceive me a certain way, and they also, there's a stereotype, oh, you just got lucky and all that stuff. But as I told you earlier, it was actually when going through a lot of hardship that I realized that these are things that were not actually, unless your family maybe is exposed to this type of information. I got, exposed to Tony Robbins, which was the reason I referenced him, because he was the first person that would speak in that way of mindset and creating and, taking action, all that stuff. I was like, whoa, like this is so different from the school where they just tell you, okay, be obedient, follow rules, maybe you'll get a job. It's a very different. And then what you realize, especially now as you've been able to, be in different kind of rooms. I now live in London, one of the best neighborhoods. I have, I'm surrounded by very, wealthy friends and things like that. What you realize that what separates the most successful people is not really talent or skills. It's a lot of times it's their mindset, and their mindset and ability of seeing life in a more abundant way, and the possibilities, and then being able to take advantage of the possibilities. So just quickly want to kind of touch upon that, just how important it is, as you said, to really open up and expose different people to this mindset. Then in regards to designing the product, I think it's funny now because a lot of people may not even recognize, but we're one of the kind of pioneers in the space of guided journals. So when we're coming out with it, there was no really such thing as a guided journal. Most people thought it was stupid when we had this idea, like, hey, we're going to create journals with like space that you fill out and you do the same thing every day. Like, you're like, why would I pay $25 for that? Like, that's silly. Now there's like, hundreds of them, and some of them look identical, which is a bit, whatever. But at the same time, I'm still appreciative because they're still spreading, and the word. So it's fine, and making other people do these habits. But what we try to do, and kind of our really kind of secret sauce, is I think any products, you want them to have special appeal in what it can help you achieve in your life. Because ultimately, once again, as I said before, in regards to companies exploiting people to get them to do stuff or think a certain way, and having studied marketing and things like that in school and understanding, I believe that you can do the same thing but for the good. Because as you said, is that if you can help use the same type of tactics on marketing by maybe, I remember even early days, people would be like, Alex, you're selling dreams, right? Of course I'm selling dreams. right? I'm selling dreams of what is possible. And I said it's fake, and they'll be like, oh, it's fake, your life or whatever. I'm like, no, it's not. Like that, my life is real. Like I live this, you know. And like I said, because we've built the business before, um, and I genuinely believe in that idea of being able to program your subconscious to navigate towards something where you want to go. Because unless you tell your mind of where to go and where you're aware of, you'll just be stuck in wherever you are. And that's what you said, even sometimes being, if you're, you know, in the hood and it's all, and that's what you're surrounded by, and that's, and the only way out is this or that, and those are the examples you see, you think that's real. But in reality is there's so much more. And that's how in my life personally, I was able to, you know, kind of go beyond those circumstances and from, you know, the certain surroundings that I had, because I also been there where I got arrested and I was in court and, you know, potentially go to juvie and things like that. That's the type of people would never imagine that, you know, that about me. And so when designing the product, I wanted to make sure that it's unisex. It's because a lot of journals, they're kind of very tailored towards female and women, and it's like colorful and pink and it's cursive, whatever. But I wanted to make it very kind of just that anybody can pick it up, and it's also something that's evergreen, that's classic, that's you know, something that feels good and that you want to do. And then going back to the things of, you know, my wife had a very large following through social media and influence. She had a very large YouTube channel, and really through her as well, we were able to have an audience to market to and to communicate of, you know, obviously she's young, beautiful, and that, you know, I'm not going around it, that helps sell a certain image of what is possible. And but at the same time, the magic of the journal itself is that, you know, you can market and sell all you want, but if it doesn't work, it's not gonna keep growing. And because in many businesses, you just need your like 1,000 true fans. I believe it's Kevin Kelly or somebody has said it. And once you get through a certain thing, then there you have these people who are able to spread the word, like yourself, which I'm really grateful for. Like you said, you used 7 journals yourself, and you've recommended it to tons of people. So just yourself, you potentially sold 100 plus of them, right? Through and the reason you communicated it is because it generally created a positive change in your life. And you're like, hey, you should check this out, and that's how the word gets around. However, once other people hear about it, they still it has to be neutral enough for them to also be able to have their own experience with it. And that goes also around like the beauty of the journal is that we guide you in a certain way, but it's still, you're filling in your own things. You're creating your own journey. You're creating your own roadmap for the gratitude you feel, or for what are the things that will make you today great. We're not telling you anything, you know. And part of the company and the products that we create, you know, at Intelligent Change, is that we also have the symbol, which is a triangle, and there's kind of sun rays all around it. People think it's Illuminati, like it's Illuminati, it's, you guys are conspiracy theorists, it's whatever. You're but the reality is, the inspiration for that is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And if you look at it, the last kind of pinnacle on the triangle is self-actualization. And what, you know, Maslow speaks about is that once you fulfill your kind of basic needs, ultimate drive for humans is to self-actualize themselves. And that's what I really believe in. I really believe, like, how can we help people self-actualize themselves on their own journey? And that's when I said, to, in regards to the same thing, the journal is that it's never meant to, uh, you know, this is the way, right? It's more about you being on your own journey to self-actualize yourself, and it's just a guide to help you on that path, to help you kind of utilize your own, brain power to be able to do that.
I love that. And that's funny. I thought about that too when you said self-actualization and then Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like you need basic needs to get to self-actualization. But I realized that by practicing gratitude, sometimes it reframed that you do have your basic needs met. For instance, if I look at my 5-minute journal, my wife jokes, I literally say family and friends almost every day is one of my one, one,
Yeah.
2, and 3. And I realized, okay, I got and a roof over my head. So at least I like to say for Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I got the shelter and good relationships and food, right? And then I can go up to higher things like, a car or a job or whatever. But I realized, wow, that's really, I never thought about that like as a system. Like when I'm training myself for gratitude, when I train gratitude, I realize that most times I'm grateful for the most basic things over time. And then it allows me to be like even more grateful for extra things. So can you speak to that? Like for you, how has practicing gratitude really reframed? You're an influencer. I saw now you're living large, but how's it practicing gratitude really reframed the most basic things to be grateful for you individually?
I think it's always basic. And I think the reason why the Western society is, so depressed is that, going back to what I said before, companies or exploit the thing that they're not enough. And you need, this and that to fit in, to get that. And the reality is reminding yourself of the basic things in life. And as you said, like, and that's an often question I get is like, do I write the same thing? Do I write new things every day? You can do it any way you want. I write mostly the same, like you. I have fairly basic things that I write every day. I'm always grateful for the health of myself and my family, right? Every day. I'm grateful for the relationship I have with my wife and my family. And to me, like, that's set, that's life, it's great. And so and then anything above and beyond that is like a bonus. And there's this, obviously, the famous saying of, expectations minus reality equals happiness. And that's the thing, as what I said before, is that a lot of people's expectations of what they need to be happy is so big. And even the expectation of, especially I think in America, there's this expectation that you need to be happy all the time. And then, like, if you're not happy, like, then there's something wrong with you. If you're not so I love the American optimism, but sometimes it gets a little too far and it gets a little too toxic. And a 5-minute journal is not about that, because there's a certain, kind of movement going with like toxic positivity and things like that. Like, this is not about toxic positivity. This is more about, as you said, the reminder and appreciation of what you have in your life. Because once you realize what you have in your life, you actually start being able to come from a place of abundance and not scarcity of what you don't have. And, oh, look at him. Oh, he has that, I don't. Oh, he has that, I don't. He's traveling, I'm not, whatever. And if you're always caught up in that, looking outside yourself and having expectations, you will never be able to, I'm not saying you'll never be able to, I don't want to say that harshly, but it is harder to create from that state versus a state of just abundance of, wow, like, thank you, I'm so grateful. Because what I always refer to, I think, if we look at, call it the universe, God, whatever you floats your boat, say that, and even in our own personal lives, when you imagine you invite somebody over for dinner at your house, you cook them food, you take care of them, and they don't say anything. They don't say thank you, whatever. It's like, okay, cool, bye, left. How'd that make you feel? And let's say you invite somebody else over and you make whatever, same dinner or whatever. And they're like, wow, this is amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate so much that you invited me. How can I help? Can I do the dishes? Whatever. Like, who do you want to invite to your house again? You're gonna want to invite the guy who's appreciative, or the girl, right? You want to be surrounded by that. Because gratitude and appreciation is just automatic. There's just inherent in energy that we all as humans feel and understand, and especially it's has to be a lot done with, I think, which is really innate to us, is reciprocity. That ability that we want to give but what we get. And I believe it's the same law in this universe, is that those who appreciate and say thank you or whatever, the universe wants to take care of those people. Like, why would I give opportunity or ideas to the guy who's always complaining versus why not? I'll rather give this opportunity or abundance to this person who's appreciative and grateful, and then they kind of get more of. And I think inherently it's a basic law that we kind of all know of, but we forget. And this is just a way really to remind yourself on a daily basis of those basic things. And I think this is the reason why it's resonated so much, and obviously been able to touch as many people as it has, and it's kind of accelerating, which is very exciting. And ultimately, the way I see it and the way it was designed, going back to the question that you've asked, is I thought of it, it's toothbrush for your mind. You brush your teeth hopefully every morning and night, and you don't stop, right? It's not like you wake up tomorrow, you're like, I've been brushing my teeth for like the last 30 years. They're pretty good. Like, I'm just gonna stop. Like, you don't really do that, because you understand that in order to upkeep your dental hygiene and all the balance in there, you have to take care of your teeth every morning and every night. It's a daily practice. And 5-minute journal is the same way to do that. It's a simple daily practice that you do every morning and every night, the same way you brush your teeth, that will help you to have a clear mental hygiene, just to kind of help you brush up. Same thing as you finish up your day, reminding you of like what was good today, what were the highlights of the day, just to help you. Because if you get into the pattern of, oh, this bad happened, this happened, because like also part of the human evolutionary experience, we tend to focus on the bad because inherently we actually want to improve the world and situation. However, once again, marketers and the media, they hijack that and they're just amplifying it. They're like, hey, people pay more attention when we say of all the bad stuff, so let's just feed them all that stuff all the time. So you have to protect yourself by reminding yourself also at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day of, hey, what are those silver linings? What was actually good? And as you start, the beauty is, like, as you have it as a practice, as a habit, it then automatically starts, you start noticing the good and what's good in the situation automatically. It just becomes a habit. And that's really the whole notion of how it was designed with that intent.
Yeah, and this one thing that also stood out to me, you said about toxic positivity, is that particularly through this journal, I believe that my resiliency has built up, my bounce back muscle. And so even if you read at the very end of the day, what could I have done better? I'm real deal. I'm like, today sucked. Or like, I keep it real. Like, like this could have been better, or I could have been better. And then when I look at overall the year, I realize, wow, like I bounced back quicker, maybe 3 days in a row I had bad days, but now I'm able to not let that linger for a whole month. So can you speak to how practicing gratitude has increased your resiliency, or have you heard stories of how that's increased the resiliency, the grit, the resolve of others?
Yeah, we actually changed that question in the last one. So the newer editions, it'll be, what did I learn today?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but because what happened was that we even had I'll just speak on that question quickly. uh, I felt, a lot of people, when they will come across that question, which was the last question, is how could I have made today even better? Um, it would stump them, and in the instructions, if you not everybody reads the instructions, right? And it's totally cool. We say that always frame it in a positive tense of what you would have done. So it's not like, hey, I sucked, right? Or I should have went to bed earlier. But you say it as actually a reaffirming statement. So say you went to bed at midnight when you knew you should have been gone to bed at 10 because you had an important interview next morning, whatever it may be. You'd write, I go to sleep at 10 p.m. every night. So it's in a way, it's like it's a mental exercise of how do you reframe a situation and make it part of your belief system that is positive, affirming, in that way. However, in regards to the resilience of this practice and yourself and your mindset is, well, over time, as I said previously, is that there's forces predominantly all around you trying to get you down. Same thing, whether it be companies trying to make you feel a certain way, governments making you feel a certain way, or whatever your surroundings, other people around you, news, media, all that stuff. Because they understood, as I said before, is that hijack people by negativity, because that's just what we're drawn to. And when you are able to have this as an arsenal, as a practice that you do daily, you're building up that frame of mind, and you're showing yourself every day of that there's something good that happens every day, and that the basic reality of you getting to live another day and have your health and able maybe move your arms or open your eyes or smell or taste, or see the sun. Yeah, this is like you're made. And I was just catching up with one of my good friends over lunch today too, and this guy, he's never done the 5-minute journal, but when he learned about it, he's like, yeah, like I do that, and that's why this guy like he does it naturally, and that's why he's so happy. But he's happy, going back to what we said, is that to the basic things. He's from Cameroon, and he's like, dude, like, do you know where like my ancestors come from, or even where my family, like, they live in huts. I'm here in London and whatever, like, enjoy myself. It's like I can't complain. And that's why if you ask my wife, she's like, you'll never really catch me complaining, because like how could you, once you realize the basic fundamentals of how fortunate we really are here in this kind of more developed society that we live in. No matter what we may hear, there's actually another great book, I believe, with the author Hans Rosling. He's a statistician, and he basically communicates how the world is actually really good. Like, I understand the same thing. Like, everything he's trying to tell you is like, it's horrible, it's all going to crap. But the reality is, in the time we're living through, really good times. And it's important to keep that perspective and keep that resilience. And what I've noticed even in myself, as this whole, pandemic happened, whatever, is that how important it is to have these practices, and how quickly you can get swayed by the inertia of mass media and certain communication that is happening, and like really interrupt your flow and get you anxious and all that stuff. Like, having through some of those moments, be aware, like, oh, like, this is not healthy. And that's the importance of really looking after yourself and your state by having a daily ritual practice outside of just the journaling, but also what I really highly recommend is, you know, uh, getting outside in the morning, going for a walk or whatever. I do a very simple, I'm all about the 5 minutes, 7 minutes. So I do a 5 minute journal in the morning and I do a 7 minute workout in the morning. But when I do the 7 minute workout, I try to do it outside. So I go outside. And same thing. There's another psychologist. He's really popular. I'm blanking his name. He has his own podcast and doing his podcast. But basically, what he communicates is that if you can get outdoors as soon as possible after you wake up and do some sort of physical activity, and even if it's not sunny, like in London, it's not the sunniest place, but just being outdoors and being in natural light, and if you can, being close to nature or grass, some sort of surface, what it does to your kind of physical being is very transformational. And I'm a big believer in that. So setting up, having certain these kind of rituals, the same way as a cat wakes up and it does this little stretch, or or the dog needs its walk in the morning. How come we walk the dog if we have a dog, but you walk yourself? So take yourself on a walk every day. So those are those kind of, because all the kind of dog owners will know, if you keep your dog inside, they'll go nuts. Well, humans are no different, but so we should treat ourselves in the same way by having some of these routines for us.
I love it. I was actually I work at a university. And I organized, I'm the advisor for a student group, and they had a group chat, and they said, where do we find Phil? Because literally I just go for walks around campus just to get outside and go for laps around campus. And they're like, oh, we found Phil by the library. We found Phil. It's called Phil Watch. So I totally agree about just getting out and having to go for a walk. I do it all the time. So I lied. This is my part of my show. I told you we're doing shout outs and plugs, but I have a segment on my show called Shot for Shot, where you get to ask me any random question. I get to ask you any random question. You want to go first, or I go first?
Yeah, sure. So how did you discover the 5 minute journal?
So as I told earlier before we got on the call, my cousin Lisa Nagorny, who I'm going to send this episode to, she knew I was all about self-development and growth and all that stuff way before I got my first journal, I believe in 2018. I remember early 2018. But I was going through a tough time, and she didn't know how tough it was. I kept it kind of private with me and my wife. But she gave me this journal for Christmas, like a belated Christmas gift. And in the new year, I think I actually had it, and I was like, I'm not going to look at it. But I started off 2018 in the new year, and I said, I'm going to start the new year with this journal. And I started using it religiously. And now my wife jokes, like, the house could be on fire, like legit could be on fire. And I'd be on my kitchen table writing real quick and then grab the journal and get out the house. Like she says, literally, I'll stop everything and do it every morning. Maybe at night, I'd be doing it random times at night. I don't have it next to my bedstand, but every morning I make sure I do it. But it was because my friend Lisa, she saw it and she was like, this vibes with you. You would be the type, she literally said, you would be that type of person that actually used this. And I was like, yeah, right. And I actually did. So that's
amazing. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, shout out to Lisa. Now, my question for you, say you go walks, where was one of the most beautiful places that you had a chance to walk around and look around? Because I love walking, and I totally vibe with what you said, that there is something about awe sparks creativity. Seeing nature sparks creativity. So what's one of the most beautiful places you walked and just looked around?
Yeah, for me, a really special place is Cape Town, South Africa. So I really love, there's a beautiful hike. It's called Lion's Head. And you kind of like go around this little spiral. Google it. And once you get to the peak, you just get this incredible view of the 12 Apostles, which is this kind of like mountain peak. And for me, one of the most beautiful things is when water meets mountains. I don't know, maybe the same thing. I think it's very like evolutionary, human-like. So it's been really kind of a gateway for me. So I'm really excited actually to discover more of Africa. I really want to go to Rwanda and go with the gorillas, hang out, go through the jungle and go safaris. So like I think it's a really special place. So yeah.
There you
And
go.
then go
Okay.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah. I'll ask you, who's a really special person in your life?
Oh man, don't put me. Okay, so I can't pick one. I got my family, right? So I got my wife, my boys, and then just recently, I would say, well, not recently, just in recent times, I moved in with my in-laws, and so I think I have a Jedi Master in my house. It's my father-in-law, Jeff, and I don't know. He's lived, he's 7 years old, 70 plus, and just the fact that I have that kind of guidance in my house, I legit could just ask him any question and he just keep it real. Like he's at the point of his life where he just like tells you the full transparent truth. He doesn't dance around it. Tells you what I'm doing well, what I'm not doing well. But it's just almost like he is like a Jedi, like a Jedi Yoda. I can ask him anything, and if he doesn't know the answer, he doesn't try to like fake like he knows the answer. He's also very open to saying like I don't know, like you learn it, we learn it together. So and shout out to my mother-in-law, shout out to my family. But just right now, I wanted to give the elevation to my father-in-law right now because it's just been really cool to have someone that's a male, that's like a father, to ask questions that are like right there. He's been through it. He's lived it, and he's given great. He retired, so he knows I can ask him any career questions, and he knows about the world of work and his experience. And so it's just kind of dope. That's been really
That's great.
special thing for me. All right. Well, this is great. This is probably one of my favorite episodes. I took a lot of notes. This is the first time I actually got to talk to someone that was a creator of a product that I actually use, honestly. So you're my not my first entrepreneur, but first person. I'm like, yo, I use this all the time, and now I know why you made it. So that's kind of dope.
Excellent. Yeah, I hope I lived up to the hype, because a lot of times when you use a product and it's very special to you, you're like, who's this person, right? Who created it?
Oh no, you actually surpassed it. I'm just gonna buy more. Like now you got a fan. Like people try to troll you on Instagram. I'm a zealot. I'm gonna come in there and be like, "What you talking about, man? You don't know this dude." So, and
Yeah,
maybe I'm in
so
London.
much.
I'll say this. This is random, and so if I'm ever in London, I'm gonna look you up because I'm a military brat. I got to live all over the the world.
Yeah.
I was born in Germany, and so I have I had a nanny. When I was living in Germany, her name is Jeannie. And then when I went to Desert Storm, when my dad got stationed and went to Desert Storm, she came and took care of me again. So this woman took care of me 2 times in my life. Now she lives in Liverpool up there, outside of Liverpool. And so, but she's literally like my second mom. We stay in touch. So if I'm ever coming to UK now, if I go to London or Liverpool, I'm going to have to chop it up with you too and meet you there. She comes to America. She doesn't want to come to Virginia. She loves Prince. So every time she comes to America, she now wants to go to Minnesota rather than see your boy in Virginia. But I won't take no shade to that. But if I'm ever in the UK, I'll look you up.
Definitely. Let's do it. We'll do lunch.
All right. So this is the part of the show called Shout Outs and Plugs. So you get to shout out anyone you want to show love to, anyone that has been special to you. And then plugs. Plugs are anything that you want the listeners to know, new things that you're coming out, products, whatever. I'll put it in the show notes so that they can follow up and have those resources available. In addition to my affiliate code, which I already have in every episode because I really like your journal. But shout out to anything that you want to share.
I don't know, man. I think shout out to my wife, Mimi. I'm just really appreciative for her, love her, and just a lot. What I do is because of her. So shout out to her.
And then plugs, how people can stay in touch, stay engaged with you or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, definitely follow, I would say, my wife, because she's more active, as I said, but also Intelligent Change. So Intelligent Change, at Intelligent Change on Instagram or 5-Minute Journal on Instagram. I think it just, we try to always in those channels provide value and education and uplifting. We also have a newsletter you can get. We try to send out every Tuesday called Intelligent Change Weekly, where we just round up, really great articles or podcasts or whatever. And I think it's a really great, if there's one newsletter to have in your inbox weekly, definitely get the Intelligent Change Weekly at intelligentchange.com. And yeah, check out all of our products. We have so many new products coming out, which I'm really pumped about. We have these new Let's Get Closer card games, especially really great around the holidays time when you have your family and you don't want to have just random conversations, but maybe you want to go a little deeper, get a little closer with your family. So we're really excited about that and to bring that into people's homes. And overall, thank you so much for this conversation. And I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to Positive Philter. Please connect with Alex and his platform. Please connect with Intelligent Change. Totally buy into it. If you have any questions for the podcast, please call 571-336-6560. That's 571-336-6560. Positivity is a movement, and we're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity a Movement. Thanks for listening.